Good day everyone, I am Trisha May Amnadres from DMD for Y2-2. Before we start, we need to wear our PPE including laboratory gown, surgical cap, eyewear, surgical mask, and make sure to secure it, gloves, and we are ready to start. To this video, we did a Kirkland Flap. The Kirkland Flap is a surgical procedure to be used in the treatment of periodontal pus pockets. It is basically an access flap for proper root debridement. The Kirkland Flap or the modified flap operation does not include extensive removal of non-inflamed tissues and apical displacement of the gingival margin. So here's the armamentarium that I used. Those are perimodal cast, blade holder, surgical blade number 15, Molt 9, my greasy curettes, Minnesota retractor, bone file, Adson tissue forceps, needle holder, suture material and suture needle, and iris scissors. Blade number 15, and I use my mosquito hemostat to load the blade to my blade holder, and I also make sure that it is secure. Envelope flap is needed to perform, so I mark my cast for incision, which is 2 teeth anterior and 1 tooth posterior. Now it's time to make an incision, so using our blade and blade holder, I started creating a circular incision. It is done by following the gingival sulcus, starting in the anterior, going to posterior direction. Also, don't forget to do it carefully. After my incision, I use my Molt 9 for elevation. Now, to elevate, I use the pointed end in a prying motion to elevate the interdental papilla. After that, I use my broad end of my Molt 9 to push the periosteum from the underlying bone. After elevation, it's time to stabilize the flap. So I stabilize my flap using my Minnesota retractor. And I also make sure that the retractor is pressing to the bone and not to the flap. After stabilization, I perform scaling and root planing using my greasy curettes 11-12 and 13-14. I continue to clean the areas and achieve the glass-like appearance on the exposed root of the tooth I'm working. Greasy curette 11-12 is used for premolars and molars on the mesial, and greasy curette 13-14 is also for premolars and molars but for the distal. They are both area-specific curette for removing deep subgingival calculus and finishing subgingival root surfaces. After curettage, I check if there are irregularities on the areas. So, I use my bone file for smoothing the bone before I suture. This instrument is not for removing the bone, but it is used only for bone smoothing. Using my tissue forceps and iris scissors, I trim the excess gingiva. After trimming, then it is ready to close by performing 4 interrupted suture. It's time to perform suturing. Using my needle holder, I inserted the needle and make sure to follow the curvature of the needle and penetrate it perpendicularly so that we avoid the breakage of the gingiva. I did the same to the other side, inserting the needle and follow the needle curvature and penetrate it perpendicularly. After that, it's time to secure the suture with a nut. 3 nuts specifically. The first nut is 2 loops around the needle holder directed away from me. The second nut is 2 loops around the needle holder towards me. And the last nut is 1 loop directed away from me. After securing, cut the excess silk. Since we needed 4 interrupted sutures to close the flap, I just did this 4 times, and I always keep in mind the 3 nuts to secure the suture, which are: the first nut is 2 loops around the needle holder directed away from me. The second nut is 2 loops around the needle holder towards me, and the last nut is 1 loops directed away from me.
Shorty said she coming with her breakfast, cause she saw a young nigga pull up in the Rover. Now she said she wanna come over, yeah, but I don't want no love. I just wanna make the moolah la, yeah, the moolah la. I just wanna make the moolah la. Go on screaming ooh la la, yeah. Shorty said she coming with her breakfast, cause she saw a young nigga pull up in the Rover. Now she said she wanna come over, yeah, but I don't want no love. I just wanna make the moolah la, yeah. La la, I just wanna make the moolah la. Go on screaming ooh la la, yeah. I don't want no love. You know me, I only think about funds. Me, I'm tryna do my own thing on my ones. I'm sorry, darling, I don't want no hugs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Had a couple galley try to hold me down, but they ain't my queen, they can't take my crown. They tried to claim it, I lost them frown, but I only got love for the peas and the pounds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love being paid. I don't want you, no, I don't want bait. Tryna get my funds up a numerous way. Couldn't give a damn what a nigga gotta say. Loving, so don't tell me nothing. Oh, you think I'm bluffing when I say no coffin. Shorty said she coming with a breakfast, cause she saw a young nigga pull up in the Rover. Now she said she wanna come over, yeah, but I don't want no love. I just wanna make the moolah la. I just wanna make the moolah la. Go on screaming ooh la la. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I ain't got time for a honey, but I got time for this money. Check the bright side, man, it's sunny. I ain't being funny, I ain't into the love, and I'm sorry, yeah. Because I've done this all before, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I've done this all before, yeah. You might catch me in a 4x4, that's a clover. You might catch me in a road.